Good evening and bienvenidos to Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices. I'm Alex Hernandez of Noticias Univision Chicago, which airs every weekday morning at 5 and 6. Thank you for sharing part of your weekend with us. On the show tonight, what a permanent child tax credit could mean for Illinois families. A hiring event puts job seekers face-to-face with hospitality industry employers. April is Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month, but not much is known about how the disorder affects Latinos.
We're here to put the game away. You don't have to worry about the pieces.
And a tropically tinged café gets Puerto Rican culture and hospitality into the game. All that coming up. But our first story tonight, a push in Springfield for a permanent child tax credit. How it would work right after this.
Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices, is made possible in part by the support of these donors.
Some Illinois lawmakers are pushing for a permanent child tax credit. That would mean up to $700 per child for eligible families. Those who would be eligible are joint filers earning less than $75,000 and single filers earning less than $50,000. Joining us to break down what this could mean for families are Roberto Valdez Jr., Midwest Policy Director with the Hispanic Federation, Rosalia Salgado, a mother and vice president of PowerPack Illinois, and an organization that aims to empower low-income immigrant and working families, and State Representative Marcus Evans Jr., a Democrat from Chicago. I want to thank all of you for joining me today. Thank you, and let's start the conversation. I want to start with Representative Evans today, so if I may, Representative, thank you for being here. If you can tell us how would this work for Illinois families?
No, thank you so much. And, I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to represent the southeast side of Chicago, which if anybody's been to the southeast side, it's a Latino community, it's a Black community, it's a working class community. So because I represent a working class community, I should go to Springfield and fight for the working class. And this child tax credit is doing just that. It's giving an opportunity not to help businesses, not to help the corporations. What are we doing to help the working class, the moms, and the low-income families, the working families? So this thing would give a $500 per child benefit for households making less than the median state household income. So we're targeting working families, and the $700 will be per child. So if the individual has multiple children, they'll be eligible for multiple, $700 tax credits. And of course, there's stipulations on income. We're trying to target hardworking folks and just give an opportunity for, again, to help out the working people. The bill is House Bill 3950, and just looking to push it and get it done.
How would it be funded, Representative?
Well, with any tax credit, there's a cost, but the hope is that the benefits would outweigh the cost. We've done a lot of studies. We've studied from the Center for Tax and Budget Accountability. It shows that for every dollar spent, this tax credit will generate an additional $2.50. And what it's saying is that we can save dollars from the working class, from the Latino moms, from the Black moms, from the working class folks, that they're going to use that money and put it where? In the local stores, and they're going to shift it through the economy. So helping working people always helps boost the economy. We've seen it with the federal tax credit, but we can do something permanent in the state. I think it'll help Illinois overall.
Let's speak with a mother. Rosalia, you're a mother. How do you envision this can benefit families?
Well, this child tax credit, it would be really important because it would benefit specifically low-income families. And we are also targeting very much I-10 filers. We know that I-10 filers have a hard time, we know that immigrants in general get a hard time getting back what they deserve. So we know that working moms need this child tax credit. It would just help their families succeed, help them with their children, not only take the burden off, all these bills that they have to try to focus and work on, but it would definitely help them take that burden off and, help their children feel a little better about their environment, about
Definitely.
living together.
Roberto, how do you hope access to this will look like, especially for individual filers?
Absolutely. I mean, I know that the Latino community will benefit from this tremendously. We know that Latino children are twice more likely to be in child poverty than those white children. So we know that effect will be tremendous in the Latino community. The coalition that we, Rosalia and I, are a part of is the Cost of Living Refund Coalition. And our core values are for accessibility so understand that these type of tax credit need to benefit everyone, including those who file their taxes with ITIN numbers.
How has this been going in other states that have implemented this?
Absolutely. There's been plenty of states who have seen success on these type of policies, right? Illinois should be the next one to ensure that they continue to move forward and show that they are supporting working families across the state. As I mentioned, it'll benefit Latino families, but Black families, Central Illinois, Southern Illinois, this will actually benefit everyone in the state of Illinois.
Representative Evans, what are the next steps in this legislation?
Well, whenever you talk about tax credits, people always talk about the cost. What a tax credit does, it defers money that would otherwise be state revenues. So you always got to consider what would the hole be created and how can we fill that hole and still take care of our other state obligations. I believe this hole is worth creating because it's going to not only be filled, but it's going to be filled overflow. So this investment, not a hole in the revenues, but an investment will create more revenues. It'll send that mom to the store a little more often to help with those sales tax receipts. So this will help overall. And again, it's not really an opinion, it's a fact, because when the federal government did something similar temporarily, you saw the economic improvements. When you give working class people help, they put the money back in the economy. Right now, the bill is still in committee. It has not moved forward. So I'm just asking people to call your state representative or senator, call the governor and let them know that this particular tax credit is worthwhile. There's a lot of tax credits floating around. Some of them make sense, some of them don't. But we know this one, it has the evidence to show that it'll help.
Yeah. Rosalia, how will families actually be educated about this process?
Well, we are hoping that us being involved in all of this will help us educate families and just really building those relationships with the community. I know that Kofi Power Pack, we really get hands-on with our specifically low-income communities, and we really try to get out there and talk to them about not only this, but everything that we can possibly benefit from. It's very helpful to know that we can help other families benefit from things that they thought that they couldn't qualify for. We think that's super important, that a lot of parents and families don't know that they have access to a lot of those benefits. So we are continuing to work on that, and we're going to continue to educate every family that we can, specifically in low-income communities, to help them succeed.
Definitely. Roberto, do you think this bill is the best way to help Illinois families post-pandemic?
Absolutely. It's a great question that you're asking, Alex. We are about 3 years post-peak pandemic, and I think some have forgotten the struggles that Latino families, Black families, Asian families, a lot of families in the state of Illinois have gone through. I think this is a good opportunity to put money in the pockets of these families, and it's an opportunity for the state of Illinois to step up. Unfortunately, the federal government could not expand and reauthorize the expansion of the CTC, but this would help tremendously, not only from an economic perspective, but this has shown to be one of the most productive programs as far as educational outcomes in regards to reducing food insecurity. So there's various benefits aside from the financial one that the CTC offers.
Rosalia, this will be our last question pretty much. One point through the American Rescue Plan, there were these credits. What issues were you hearing from families? And we have very limited time now.
Oh yeah. Well, the biggest important issue is how families depend on other families to be able to file their taxes and to be able to get what they know they need and deserve for their children. So we know that's a big issue. So we definitely need to spotlight that, how families depend on other friends or family members to help them file their taxes. So this definitely would be a ginormous help, and it would encourage ITIN filers to have a little bit more of independence.
Well, Thank you so much for joining us. Our thanks to Roberto Valdez Jr., Rosalia Salgado, and Marcus Evans Jr. With tourist season heating up, Chicago's hospitality industry is kicking into high gear, and that means jobs. On April 18th at the Palmer House Hilton, the 6th annual Hospitality Hires Chicago event puts job seekers face-to-face with industry employers who are ready to interview and hire for a variety of open positions.
Hospitality Hires Chicago is an opportunity for job seekers and employers to meet in person with companies that are looking for people here in the Chicago Loop and the downtown area. Anybody can come. This is a project of the Cook County Workforce Partnership. Oftentimes people in Chicago think that the downtown area, the Loop, and the central area is kind of exclusive, only white collar workers, and that there's not opportunity for them. And Hospitality Hires is a great opportunity for people to get jobs here in the Loop, good jobs, and ones that can start them on a career track. There are mid-level positions and there's entry-level positions. This would be, folks that take care of the hotel, maids and room service folks, cooks and restaurant servers. This might be folks that set up and tear down for weddings and events that happen inside of the hotels. This could be front registration desk people. This could be folks that call you a bellman or a doorman that brings people's cars up. There's a lot of different jobs, but there's 60 different businesses that will be there, and we're expecting hundreds of applicants. We've done this now. This is the 6th year, and I think we took a year off because of the pandemic. But like hundreds of people get jobs, get real jobs, and this is a real opportunity for companies to really connect with the people that make Chicago such a great place and give them opportunity. We hope they take advantage of it.
Language interpreters will be on site to assist job seekers. Advanced registration is recommended. You'll find more on our website. Up next, what you need to know about Parkinson's disease. The causes of Parkinson's disease are currently unknown. The disease is a degenerative disorder of the nervous system and is marked by tremors, muscle stiffness, and impaired movement. Recent studies suggest the disease may occur in higher rates among Latinos, but it's tough to know why that might be, as Latinos are underrepresented in Parkinson's research. Joining us now with more are Dr. Paulina Gonzalez Latapi, Assistant Professor of Neurology at Northwestern University School of Medicine. She also leads the Hispanic Movement Disorders Clinic at Northwestern. And Dr. Mitra Ashfari, Assistant Professor of Neurological Sciences at Rush University Hospital. And Rosa Peña, Vice President of Programs and Services at the American Parkinson's Disease Association. I want to welcome all of you for joining us today. Thank you for being here. But I want to start with Dr. Gonzalez Latapi. Can you explain to us exactly what Parkinson's disease is?
Of course. Well, Parkinson's disease is a neurodegenerative condition. What does that mean? It means that it affects the brain, and it's also a progressive condition. So it's a disease that, as you already pointed out, it can present with tremors, with some difficulty with movement. But we also know that there are these other non-motor symptoms, meaning that these are symptoms that don't affect movement, but can affect, for example, thinking, or someone's voice, or someone's ability to regulate their blood pressure. So it really is a condition that can end up affecting a whole person's system.
Dr. Ashfari, what treatment options are available that people might not know that they exist?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of symptomatic treatment for Parkinson's disease. Ultimately, the disease results in a dopamine deficiency, and we're very lucky because we've been able to figure out how to give people back that dopamine. through various pills, lots of different formulations of dopamine or ways to stimulate dopamine receptors. There is definitely a lot of great treatment out there for the symptoms.
Rosa Peña, what would you say are some differences in how Latinos experience Parkinson's disease that you see in your work?
Some of the things that we notice is that many of the calls that we get from people seeking information, they've been dealing with symptoms for a long time. Most often, sometimes they don't know that they have Parkinson's disease. They've been having these symptoms and they haven't seen a neurologist or a movement disorder specialist. So they have all these questions about what should I do? What kind of doctor should I see? So we see a lot of that, and also a lot of times there's a lot of secrecy. They don't want to tell their family members that they're experiencing these symptoms, so they're holding it on to themselves for a while, and they're not feeling well. So what really brings them to either a doctor or to call us for information is really that the symptoms are getting worse, and then they realize I need to get some help.
Well, that's definitely a tough disease, without a doubt. Dr. Gonzalez, you're actually the only Latino movement disorder specialist in Chicago. Why do you think it's important to people to have someone who can speak in their own language to understand their culture and when it comes to this disease?
Well, it's a complex disease, as you've already realized, and so there's a lot of things that can get lost in translation. Even when we're explaining the disease to someone in their own language, there can be some aspects of it that can be very hard to understand. So really the ability to speak to someone in Spanish and understand, so that they can understand what the disease is, they can understand their treatment options, what, besides medication, what other treatment is available, the resources that are available. And it's not only the language, but also that cultural sensitive care. So I'm originally from Mexico City. I was born in Mexico City, have been living in Chicago for 10 years. So really also that cultural aspect of being Latina, then that helps me relate with my patients. And I think that that's also very important, and it's some of the feedback that I've gotten as well from the patients I've seen in my clinic, where they are really thankful to have a physician they can relate to, both from a language standpoint and from a cultural standpoint.
Without a doubt, yeah. Dr. Shfari, how important is early diagnosis for long-term prospects?
It's so important because, like Dr. Latapi says, Parkinson's disease is a neurodegenerative condition. It's progressive. Right now, we don't have medication to slow down the progression. We only have medication to treat the symptoms of the disease. We're lucky we have that. And then we need to have early diagnosis so that we can institute exercise specifically. That is the one thing that has been shown that has evidence that could potentially slow the progression of the disease. The earlier you institute that, the earlier we can get patients potentially kind of disease modification, slowing down that progression. Yeah. So early diagnosis is super important.
And that's all that we can do for now, slow it down. Rosa Peña, let's talk about resources. What resources does your organization offer for people who have received this diagnosis?
So the American Parkinson's Disease Association, we have a network of chapters and information and referral centers across the country, and we also have a national helpline. And I am fully bilingual, bicultural, and I take all the Spanish calls. We also have someone in Arizona who is Spanish speaking, who is of Mexican descent and is doing a lot of outreach. And so what it is important is that we have resources available. We have publications, some of them higher level, and we also have lower literacy, so make it easier. As one of the doctors pointed out, it's so important to be able to explain this disease in ways that people can understand, because it can be very complicated and complex. We have exercise classes that are available in person and virtually that anyone can access for free. All our services are free. We have educational seminars and webinars in Spanish and English that are accessible as well. They're live and recorded and available on our YouTube channel and Facebook as well. So we have also a financial support program to help people access support group, transportation, getting to their doctor, or boxing class, an exercise class that can help them.
Yeah, definitely great help for families that definitely need it and that have family members who have been diagnosed with this disease. Dr. Gonzalez, you opened a Hispanic Latinx movement disorders clinic a year ago. Can you tell us exactly what you do there?
Well, the focus of that clinic is to really provide that care in Spanish and with that being culturally sensitive. The largest percentage of patients that I see actually have a diagnosis of Parkinson's disease, and so what I'm able to do is to give them that care in Spanish and also connect them with resources in the community. And that's also where partnering with other centers in Chicago, other resources in Chicago, and really making sure that they know what tools there are to improve and keep their quality of life.
Very important. Dr. Ashfari, could you talk to us about the risk factors that people with Parkinson's should know?
Yeah, so we still don't know the underlying cause of Parkinson's disease. It's thought to be some combination of genetic predisposition and an environmental risk factor. A lot of those environmental risk factors fall in the category of toxicants, so potentially pesticides. And so every Parkinson's disease patient looks very different, and that kind of tells us that there is some combination of multiple factors that's contributing to predilection towards having the disease.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Our thanks again to Rosa Peña, Dr. Paulina Gonzalez Latapi, and Dr. Mitra Ashfari. Thank you so much. Back with more Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices, right after this. From apples to Yahtzee, just about everyone likes playing games. But the face of the board game industry is often white and male. Now, a local couple is hoping they can change the game. Board game enthusiasts and entrepreneurs Yesenia and Jose Maldonado are rolling the dice that game lovers of all stripes will want to stay and play at their cafe. Producer Erika Gunderson did just that and gets us started.
On a lively Friday evening at the Stay and Play Game Cafe, the tabletops are busy with block stacking, card flipping, and battleship sinking. Owners Yesenia and Jose Maldonado say tabletop games, like the hundreds of games they have stocked for patrons to play, are one of the three great loves they hope to share with their new business.
First and foremost, we want to represent those three pieces: our Puerto Rican heritage, our love, affinity for Chicago, and our passion for board games and how it brings community together.
The Maldonados hosted game nights for years before taking the leap and converting a former bar into a bright, tropically tinged haven for gameplay.
Literally a decade ago, we were hosting game night, and it was just a phenomenal event. We left that night, and I went to Yesenia. I'm like, we got to take this to a larger scale, give it to the neighborhood.
The cafe serves up classic Puerto Rican finger foods like tostones, maduros, and of course, the Chicago Boricua classic, jibarito.
I always say that our people are everywhere. I think our cuisine is so accessible and it's delicious, and so I want to make it accessible and delicious.
We get some comments about, like, why don't we have arroz con gandules, mofongo, and stuff like that, and while we love eating that food, and we like cooking it too. I look at the game boxes and said, I do not want to be going through them and finding little gandules here and there, and those are not game pieces.
They also offer a rum-focused cocktail menu to add a little spirit to your gameplay, something their mascot, named Hebe, would approve of.
Hebe. So he's named after Jíbaro. So the Spanish word for people who live in the country in Puerto Rico. So we designed a meeple and made him a Jíbaro, and we named him Hebe. And he be doing a bunch of things. He be playing.
Yeah, he'd be playing board games, he'd be eating food, he'd be drinking cocktails.
He'd be doing everything.
Yeah.
While the concept of a game cafe isn't entirely new, the Maldonados say their vision is of a place that is welcoming to everyone, from friends to families, and offers culture and connection alongside Clue and Connect 4.
We strive to actually build community, so we are no strangers to saying, You've got a party of 2, there's a party of 3 that's taking up a big table. Let's go ask them, can we join the tables? And this really warms our heart. They join forces and play a game together. So complete strangers playing together is absolutely what we want to do.
And so far, the cafe seems to be getting high scores across the board from its clientele.
It's like a home vibe, so I'm Puerto Rican and it just already makes me feel like I'm at home. Chicago lacks that, it really does. There's a lot of bars, there's a lot of lounges, but there aren't any places like this where you could just hang out. Like you can have your café con leche and you can play a game.
I love the Maduros. I've only had sweet plantains like one other time in my life and I remember loving them, so it brought me back to that.
We are definitely like a game family, like we have family nights. I think that the fact that they have like over 600 games to play, like 2-player games, 3-player games, everybody can play. They have the simplest games, old school games is perfect.
If you're in the mood for an epic capitalist throwdown or 4 hours of battling dragons, the Maldonados say they're staying true to their name.
We say stay and play, you know, take as many games as you like. You can come here, play our games, have fun, eat our food, and then go home and not have to clean and wash the dish.
For Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices, this is Erica Gunderson.
Now that's a nice subject. You'll find more details on that cafe on our website, actually. That's going to be our show for this weekend. Don't forget to tune in to Noticias Univision Chicago every weekday morning. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices, I'm Alex Hernandez. Buenas noches.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a personal injury law firm dedicated to preserving the dignity and rights of all individuals.